Bart, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you, to someone that I know from your work with the Home Computer Museum, and I'm sure we'll talk about that during the interview. But so you're a reference to me in terms of things that can be done in terms of museology and this passion of bringing computers to people and to remind everyone of the importance of it. But let's assume that our listeners don't know you. So where should we start? So can you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. First of all, thank you for inviting me. It's always fun to talk to other museums and people in the community. Uh, yeah, as you already, my name is Bart. I'm I created the Home Computer Museum about 5 years ago. At least the idea came to me 5 years ago, and we opened almost 3 years ago with the Home Computer Museum. Last year we moved to a bigger location. Right now we are in a 1090 square meters museum in the city center of Helmond, which is in an area known as Brainport region, and that's basically the equivalent of the Silicon Valley in Europe.
Okay.
That's the reason why we are here. A lot of people say to me, especially Dutch people, why are you so in the south of the Netherlands? And then I always answer, because I'm now in the center of Europe, or at least in Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg, and also close to the German border. So we have a more international audience over here. We really focus on the history of the home computer. So we start with the Altair 8800.
Okay.
And we go all the way up to 2006, where we have the Macintosh, or the iMac, the Power Mac, and Mac Pro is there, and also Windows Vista. So
Okay.
basically everything between the Altair 8800 and Windows Vista, so everything in between. And the thing is, we have interactive computer museum,
Okay.
meaning that we have currently, if we are open as a museum, because due to Corona we closed. But when we are back in business again, then we have about 400 computers on display in the museum,
Okay.
and more than half of it is actually working, powered on. The other half can be powered on, so you can, if you here as visitors, you can power on everything.
Okay.
Computers are set up that they are prepared to be used. So that's
It's a huge task.
huge energy bill that we have. So, but yeah, we have from everything. You can just try and feel for yourself.
Okay.
Every computer we have situated in on a desk from the same era, with a chair from the same era. So it's including even some places wallpaper. So we put
Okay.
wallpaper on the wall that is matching the computer's age. So, for example, the X80 Sorcerer from 1978, we have with a desk from 1978, a chair from 1978, and working. You can, and there's a wallpaper in the back which really looks 70s.
Okay.
Of that kind of stuff. That's really fun. So every computer has its own story with in that way.
Okay, so I'm sure we'll have the opportunity to talk with much more detail about the process of the Home Computer Museum. I'm very curious about knowing things like volunteers, people working, where computers came from, all of that. But let's focus that on a second interview for when we have the time. So today we're here to talk specifically about the ZX81. So we're celebrating the 40 years of the ZX81. Some of us had one, others just look at it as let's say the father of the ZX Spectrum. What we would like to know is to understand what it was like in the Netherlands. So what can you tell us? I don't know if you had one or not. What can you tell us about the cost, where you guys could buy it? So let's start from there, if possible.
Yeah. Well, to begin with, I never had a ZX Spectrum or ZX. I don't have.
Okay.
We do have them in the museum, obviously now. Actually, we have every Sinclair made, so including the ZX80, the MK14, the ZX81. Spectrum, Spectrum 2, etc., etc., up until the PC200,
Yes.
which is not a Spectrum, which is not a Sinclair anymore. But
yeah.
Anyway, it's an Amstrad. But we do have, well, there's a little story behind it that happened to me. When I opened this museum back in 2018, as you can imagine, the first months I'll be here 24/7 for 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And there is actually, I have a family, so I have a wife and kids. So after a few months, when I reintroduced myself, I said, "Hey, I live here too." No, just kidding. At some point, we decided to go for a day off. We went to the shore. We went to the sea, to the seaside of the Netherlands. It was a beautiful day. So we drove. We decided in the morning, let's go to the sea, and we did. We got the whole family in the car. We drove to the museum. Would run itself at that point already. We drove to the sea, and we came there around noon. And we did have some food. We wanted to have some lunch, so we picked out the restaurants. We sat there. We're talking about 2018, so you can still go to a restaurant at that point. We were sitting there, and my wife went to the bathroom with the kids, and I was sitting there, reading what kind of beer, what kind of food they had. I was sitting there minding my own business, and then suddenly I hear a voice from me next to me. He said, "Excuse me, can I ask you something?" I was like, "Sure, you can ask me." And he said, "I see that you have all kinds of computer brands on your T-shirt." I had a T-shirt on with a lot of computer brands, and the top says Acorn and Sinclair. That's on the top. And he said, "Yeah, I notice you have Acorn and Sinclair over there. I'm the one responsible for Sinclair and Acorn in the Netherlands." He was the very first person who imported Sinclair into the Netherlands. He was sitting there next to me, watching the sea, having lunch.
Okay.
Completely random. The guy told me all the stories. He also visited the museum at some point, obviously, and I still have contact with him.
Okay.
He was responsible for laser computers as well. His brother-in-law was responsible for IBM to be famous in the Netherlands. So I basically found for some random reason, I found the most important guy of the Netherlands.
Those things happen when you're doing the right stuff, for sure. I'm sure your wife didn't like that lunch so much as she was expecting.
Yeah, she was mostly surprised. We're like, "Oh my god!" For the first time ever, for the first time in months, we go somewhere together.
And the guy is talking of computers again.
You still find somebody who.
And so, what was the company of that gentleman? So, who was the importer?
That's I wrote it down because I had to look it up.
Of course.
I see, I wrote it down.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, he worked for Bang&Olufsen.
Okay.
He had a little company within the Bang&Olufsen main company, and that was called Compaq. Not with the Compaq with the Q on the end, but with the C on the end. So that was different. Compaq was importing electronic materials, so like processors and memory and professional electronics. That's what the company mainly did. It was founded in 1978.
Okay.
Then the company started, and he told me, and that's what he told me personally. He went at some point to England. He went to Cambridge to meet with this guy called Clive Sinclair.
Never heard.
Now he was talking about having the Sinclair brand imported into the Netherlands, and that was the ZX81. The ZX80 was imported in the Netherlands, but there was no company doing that import thing.
Okay.
And now the company, importing that stuff. Funny story that he was, discussing about price and about the numbers, and then suddenly he realized there was a little computer below the desk. I was like, "What's that kind of computer?" Yeah, that's nothing. That was the answer. It was nothing. It's just a strange looking weird computer. Okay, never mind. So they eventually made an agreement to import Sinclair, and then this guy Paul is his name. Paul Pardon.
Oh,
It's really
pardon. Okay.
Paul Pardon. He Paul asked, well, I still want to know what that computer. So yeah, they showed him, and that was an Acorn Acorn Atom.
Yeah.
They showed the Acorn Atom, and they really didn't want to sell it to him, but he did. So he said, "I want that computer too."
Okay.
So that's how Acorn and Sinclair together were imported through Compaq with Bang& Olufsen.
And it's not. It's funny to see that the same guy was importing computers
Yeah,
from what were the two main rivals in the UK.
yeah,
In
yeah.
the UK, in Portugal, Acorn, as far as I know, didn't have any expression. But it's funny because in UK, obviously, we know about the story. So you met the guy from Compaq belonging to Bang& Olufsen, and they imported it.
Yeah.
Is there any information you know about how many units were sold? What was the
I
price?
don't have
Probably not.
no. I did find. I really looked into it last few days because
Okay.
I wanted to know this. What I found out is the ZX81 was at least the first release I can find in the Netherlands. The first price I can find was October 1981,
Okay.
and it was listed for 525 guilders. The
Okay.
price of a ZX81
Okay.
in 1981. So that really matches around, this is 40 years ago.
Okay. Very well.
However, Bang& Olufsen did rebrand the ZX81.
Okay.
Yes, it was called the Beocomp.
Okay.
Beocomp ZX81, which was the same price as a original Sinclair, but it was the same machine. The
Okay.
only thing it says Beocomp on top of it, but the rest is the same machine.
I'm not sure. I don't know if you have any of those in the museum. I think I saw a picture before, probably from, well, if from anyone, from Marc Kloosterman for sure. If not from you, from Marc.
Probably we don't have one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I
I'll
do
look
have
into it.
one now. That's the problem with having a museum.
You
I
keep.
find something now I want it.
Yeah, I know. I know the drill. Very, very complicated. And then you have friends telling you should buy that one, and then you spend more money. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll talk about that also afterwards. Okay.
So
What about?
that's what I found about the ZX81.
Okay.
I can't find any numbers or how many are sold.
Okay.
I did find that the successor, obviously the ZX Spectrum, was sold in massive amounts in the Netherlands
Yeah.
because it was bundled with an magazine and a course
Okay.
called microprocessors.
Microprocessors. Okay.
Yeah, microprocessors and basic, which was in 1984.
Okay.
And you could buy for 950 guilders.
Okay.
So you could buy a ZX Spectrum and the course for
Okay.
how to learn on the ZX. And I did find that at least 50,000 of these courses were sold.
Okay.
So
And that's just for the package, because then you
that's
probably had sales outside of that package for sure.
yeah,
And
yeah, probably.
was it?
I don't think so. That a lot of, especially in those times, if you want to buy a computer,
You
you
need training.
already need to have a lot of interest in it. It was not something you just buy and go.
Yeah.
But if you would buy it with a course, then at least you know how to handle it. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of more computers were sold with a course than
Then without. Okay.
without.
And was the importer and distributor still Compaq, or was there any change, or were there others importing the computers that you know of?
No, it was all imported under the Bang& Olufsen
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
brand.
Very well. So
And,
very nice that lunch of yours.
1984 they quit. Well, at least 1984 Bang& Olufsen quit importing stuff.
Okay.
And this Paul went with he started his new company called Megamundo, and he imported next to Sinclair, Acorn, Dai, we have from more ITT, CompuColor. He basically imported a lot of things, laser computers, VTech laser.
Okay.
And a few years later, probably 85 or 86, he dropped all brands to import and only continued with the brand Laser.
Okay.
Or VTech Laser. And that's when he renamed his company to Laser Computers Europe BV.
I find it amazing to know this part of the story, to understand how things happened back then. So okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, at least until the 2000s, early 2000s, he stopped with the laser computer brand because there was a lot of competition, especially in the late 90s. The cheap ass brands from Japan and Korea. I know Packard Bell and Dell and all those. There was no competition possible anymore because they could produce so cheap, and big brands or the Dutch brands like Laser, but also Tulip Computers and probably England as well. Amstrad, same. They basically decided, okay, we stopped doing with computers and we just sell the company. He sold the company. His successor really killed the company basically, and he went bankrupt 2 years after the selling. And that was the end of laser computers.
Is there anything you can tell us in terms of software development for it? So around the world, we see small programs, games being developed, obviously more in England, of course, but even in Portugal, we have examples of programmers that started doing stuff. Is that something that you guys are familiar with? So Dutch software for ZX81?
Yeah, we do have. There's actually I forgot his name, but at this point, he's really programming. He's really trying with the basic ZX81. So the 1K of memory, he's programming. He's trying to program something in that, and for a lot of people, that's a challenge.
Yes,
and that's really fun to see. I see a lot of not only with Sinclair, but also with Tandy and also with Commodore. People love to program with the limited
capacity
material they have, and making a game right now. I mean, CPU is limitless, storage is limitless. Use all the memory you can have. There's really no fun if you are a programmer. You don't have any challenge. Of course, you have challenges, but have a gameplay or so. But the challenge of making this computer with its limitations and making to do that something that's either impossible or people consider as impossible, and that's I think a challenge. And I see that in the ZX Spectrum or the ZX81 as well. A lot of programmers are really fun, having fun trying to program to extend the limits or really pushing the limits of a ZX81.
So, but you're talking about current programmers, people that nowadays look at those old machines and develop for it. More in terms of, for example, I don't know, first softwares for accounting and stuff like that, or salary processment, wages. Is that something you saw back in the days, or that you have in the museum, or you're not?
I not with the ZX81.
Okay.
No, really. We do see some things, but I don't think the ZX81 or the ZX Spectrum is really used for that purpose.
For that purpose, okay. Because here is different. It was used for that also, because it was let's say the only one because of Timex in Portugal. So it was so strong that it was almost it was the most used for sure.
Okay. Yeah, but we had the Tulip computers we had already. We had the XD Sorcerer. That was really famous in the Netherlands at the time. Even Commodore was coming along. The Commodore VIC-20 was really popular. The Commodore 64 and 82. But also the Atari 800 XL was really popular. The Tandy color computer series or the TRS-80, the original TRS-80 or the Model 3. These were all very popular machines, and much more capable than the
Of
ZX81.
course, of course, of course.
So people were using that because we didn't have really. I mean, I can understand for England, I mean, Cambridge, yeah, obviously. Um, uh, Although there was also the whole Acorn scene, obviously, and there was the New Brain as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
Grundy. Yeah.
but yeah, there were the Netherlands didn't have really much. Yeah, they had Philips and they had Tulip. There were the two brands in the Netherlands.
Well, and
And
Philips was involved in the MSX back.
yes,
So yeah, I have one in the museum. So yeah, yeah, and probably the Netherlands is different in terms of price sensitivity to the computer, because I would say in Portugal the success was related to the low price, because I would imagine how much a Commodore would cost over here, and so probably as you guys have many other alternatives, it made it different. I can understand that. The idea that I have from an external point of view is that you guys are also very active in terms of retro computing, in terms even in terms of Sinclair stuff. So we have the example of Ben Versteeg developing stuff in the Netherlands that everyone knows about. You have the Dutch Sinclair Society group or something like that. I don't live in the Netherlands, but I was accepted there, so sometimes I see those posts also. So my final question to you is just in terms of, okay, focusing a little bit in terms of Sinclair and these kind of things. Um, how active is this, or do you think there are? What is this digital ecosystem nowadays for these old computers, and specifically for Sinclair? Is it like I was suggesting, very active, or?
yeah, there are quite a few groups active. Um, I do see the. I think the Sinclair is probably around the second place when it comes to activity.
Okay.
And the biggest ones by far is the Commodore one,
Okay.
Commodore 64 and the Commodore Amiga. Um, Quickly followed by Atari, and then I think the third is the Spectrum, yeah, the ZX, the Sinclair computers,
Yeah.
basically.
Okay. Okay.
When it terms in size, yeah, there's an active community. There's a lot of things going on, but that's in every scene. I am in all these scenes, so I pretty much know how big they are. I mean, for every computer, new things are being made,
Okay.
even for very strange uh, computers that are unknown about in most parts of the world. I mean, you probably never heard of the DAI computer,
Don't think
DH,
so.
DAI. The DAI is a Belgian computer.
Okay.
It's very limited made, but even for that computer, it was only sold in, I think, Belgium and the Netherlands. It's even not coming out of that. Um, but even for that computer, there's a SD card solution now. You can have a SD card. So for every computer, there is
There
a
is.
solution. There things are being developed by enthusiasts for that brand.
Yeah.
And in that way, I say Sinclair's is probably second
Okay.
next
Yeah,
to Commodore.
it's a good time to be looking at retro computing and all of that. Bart, thank you so much for your time. I obviously suggest everyone that visits the Netherlands to visit the museum. I haven't done it, but I want to do it. So as soon as we can travel, I'm sure we'll have the opportunity to meet in person. And I'm obviously the invitation for you to come to Portugal is also made. So I'm sure we'll have other opportunities to talk. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.